All right, we're diving deep today. We are tackling one of the biggest, most profoundly human questions out there. What is the nature of evil? It's a question that has kept philosophers up at night for thousands of years, and really, it gets to the absolute core of who we are. So let's get into it. So let's start with this central puzzle, the question that just refuses to go away. Does anybody actually choose to do something evil knowing full well that it's evil? Or is there something else going on entirely? When you or I do something that causes harm, are we really aware of the choice we're making? You know, the great novelist Fyodor Dostoevsky, he had a pretty fascinating take on this. He argued that the biggest evils in the world aren't born from some kind of pure mustache-twirling malice. Nope, he said they come from a place of absolute certainty. This dangerous conviction that we know what's best, that our cause is so righteous that it justifies, well, anything. It's not about trying to be evil. It's about a horribly twisted kind of self-righteousness. And this desire to be seen as good, this need to justify our own actions, it is not a new thing. In fact, you could say it's one of the oldest human anxieties we've ever recorded. I mean, get this, 5,000 years ago, in ancient Egypt, this is what a soul would plead to the gods in the afterlife. You can just feel the desperation in the Book of the Dead. I have done no evil. I am pure. I am pure. I am pure. This intense, burning need to prove our own innocence, it's been with us since the very beginning. Okay, so if we're all so desperate to believe we're good, how have thinkers tried to understand and categorize the evil that, well, very obviously still exists in the world? Let's try to draw a map. So, a classic way of breaking it down, especially in theology, is to split evil into three buckets. First, you've got metaphysical evil. That's just the fact that existence itself isn't perfect. Then there's natural evil, stuff like earthquakes, hurricanes, disease, things totally out of our control. But the one that really gets under our skin, the one that comes from us, is moral evil. Lying, cheating, murder, this is the evil that comes directly from human choice. Now, when it comes to explaining moral evil, philosophers have gone in some fascinatingly different directions. For someone like Socrates, it was actually pretty simple. Evil is just ignorance. He believed that if people truly, deeply understood what was good, they would always choose it. End of story. But then you have Spinoza, who saw it totally differently. For him, evil wasn't some cosmic force. It was just anything that gets in the way of our basic drive to survive and thrive, what he called our conatus. But then you get Immanuel Kant. And he comes along with a much darker and, let's be honest, probably more realistic view. He basically said, no, the problem isn't ignorance at all. We often know exactly what the right thing to do is. We get the moral law, and yet, we still deliberately choose our own self-interest instead. He called this radical evil, our capacity to freely and knowingly choose wrong over right. So that idea of consciously choosing evil is pretty disturbing stuff. But in the 20th century, a new concept came along that was, in some ways, even more terrifying. Why? Because of just how ordinary it was. After watching the trial of a high-ranking Nazi officer, the philosopher Hannah Arendt came to this absolutely chilling conclusion. She said, we can sort of distance ourselves from radical evil by calling its perpetrators monsters. But this other thing, the banality of evil, its thoughtless, everyday, bureaucratic nature, that's something that is much, much harder to escape. For Arendt, this was the bombshell insight. The most horrific acts in history weren't necessarily committed by fanatics or sociopaths. They were carried out by ordinary people. Bureaucrats, clerks, soldiers, people who just followed orders, people who didn't stop to reflect. They didn't ask questions. They just turned off their brains and surrendered their ability to think critically. And in that void of thoughtlessness, evil had all the room it needed to grow. And this brings us right back to that dangerous idea from the beginning, doesn't it? Doing evil because you believe you know what's best. Think about the show Dexter. Here's a guy who hunts down and kills truly awful people, murderers the justice system couldn't catch. And let's be real, a part of us often finds ourselves rooting for him. But he's still a serial killer who operates completely outside the law. It forces us to ask that same dangerous question that justifies so much banal evil. If the result is good, does it really matter how you got there? Okay, so if thoughtlessness is the disease that allows this kind of banal evil to spread, then what's the cure? Well, philosophers and thinkers keep pointing back to one specific part of us as our greatest defense, our conscience. Mahatma Gandhi just put it so perfectly.
He said there's a court that is higher than any legal system on earth, and that's the court of your own conscience. It's the ultimate judge.
And this isn't just a personal, private matter, it's a social one too. Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, the founder of the Turkish Republic, he argued that you can't build a healthy society without citizens who have free minds and, just as crucial, free consciences. And look, to show you just how universal this idea is, even a revolutionary figure like Che Guevara, from a completely different world, saw conscience as the final backstop. He said, even if nobody else is watching, nobody is there to applaud you, you still have to face yourself. This idea really does cut across all politics and cultures.
But what is this thing we call conscience? Here we get two really powerful modern ideas. For Hannah Arendt, it's that internal conversation. It's the dialogue you have with yourself when you're completely alone. And in her view, to tell a lie is to literally create a contradiction within your own mind. But for a philosopher like Emmanuel Levinas, conscience isn't internal at all. It's born in the moment you truly look at another person's face and feel that sudden, undeniable sense of responsibility for them.
So whether our conscience is that inner voice or an outward responsibility, the antidote to evil doesn't seem to be a passive feeling. It seems to be an active choice. The choice to engage, to reflect, and most importantly, to think.
So what are the practical tools we can use to fight back against that thoughtlessness Arendt warned us about? Well, it starts with using your reason, just pausing to analyze before you act. It means actively listening to that internal voice, your conscience, and not just shrugging it off. It means forcing yourself to look past easy labels and categories to see the actual human face in front of you. And ultimately, it means taking responsibility and understanding that your choice not to think is still a choice, and it has consequences.
And let's end with this one final, powerful thought from Hannah Arendt. She says that evil is a challenge to our ability to think, because thought always tries to go deep, to get to the roots of things. And when it tries to do that with evil, it gets frustrated, because there's nothing there. It's empty. That is its banality. It's terrifyingly shallow. Depth, substance, meaning, according to her, those belong only to the good. And maybe, just maybe, choosing to think and to seek that depth is the most profound moral duty we have.